Shalom, family trendsetter. All praises be to the Most High. I'm actually out and about, so you might periodically hear some noise in the background. Now, I want to share something that happened today. It's kind of interesting to experience this interaction with a gentleman. I was at the range today. I usually go to the range like every week, every Saturday. That's the only day I have free. So I usually go to the range every Saturday to hone in on my shooting skills. And I met this older gentleman, so-called African American, right? This melanated dude. And he was asking me, how often do I come here? So I tell him I come here on a weekly basis. And he was like, okay, cool. So he said this is his first time here. He's here to actually purchase a shotgun. So I said, okay, cool. I said, have you ever, shot a shotgun before? He said, no. So I was giving him like the rundown on the shotgun. Does have a lot of kick. It have a lot of recoil to it. He have to. I would suggest that he take at least 2 or 3 sessions in shooting it before he consider having it as a home defense. So I asked him what made him decide to pretty much purchase a shotgun. So he said about 2 or 3 days prior to him coming here, he almost had a home invasion. So I said, for real? He said, yeah. He said, this is in Maryland. I live in Maryland. And where he live is actually a nice neighborhood. It's a little bit secluded, you know what I'm saying, a little bit isolated. But he was saying in that particular area, they don't have any problems. But what's happening lately is that you have these drug addicts, right? These meth heads coming into the community, breaking in cars, and now they going into into your sheds and so forth. So he said around maybe 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, he heard some noise in his backyard, and then he jumped up and he went to investigate. He saw some flashlight. I guess they had flashlight trying to see what he had in his shed. So he turned on his light, in the rear of his house for them I guess to indicate to them that someone knows what's going on. But he said what was so strange is that they didn't run. They wasn't deterred. You know what I mean? So he starts shouting out his window like, "Yo, I got a gun! I got a gun!" So he said, big mistake, because he said when he said that, one of them said, we got a gun too, and it was some white boys. It was some actual meth heads. He said we got a gun too, and they didn't leave the yard. He was still in the backyard. He said. So he said he turned off the light. He told his wife and his kids to go downstairs in the basement and lock up. He called 911, and he said he felt so vulnerable because he didn't have anything in the home other than like kitchen knives to defend himself. So I was like, wow, that's crazy. That's a really traumatic experience. And he was like, yeah. He said, what about you? He said, do you have? I said, man, I have a lot of firearms. I said, I'm actually a collector. I collect firearms. I said, I have firearms stayed all over my house. I said, I have a concealed carry permit for Maryland as well as Utah. And I said, the only thing I'm working on right now is trying to obtain one for DC. But I said, I stay strapped. I carry on a daily basis. And he was like, cool. He said, I probably need to look into that, but for right now, I'm focusing on getting a shotgun. So he said, any suggestion? I said, well, get a 12 gauge for right now. Get something that you can handle. I would suggest, like I told him, I told him I think I said early in the video that I told him that he probably needs to take some classes before he, consider purchasing it, get comfortable with it first, because, it's a big gun. It have a lot of kick to it. So he was like, cool. So, we was talking for a little, rapping for a little bit. Then he walked off, and I'm making this video because I want to piggyback on this experience. That we family, we need to be vigilant. We got to realize we living in some peculiar times. It's not like 10, 20 years ago where you feel safe even in your own home. Now, when you're in your house, you still have to be wary and leery of what's going on, because you got these meth heads out there, you got these criminals out there. They targeting nice communities. Like where I live at, I would consider it to be a middle class neighborhood. I'm not rich, right? But I decided I want a nice environment to raise my kids. So I make the sacrifice every morning going out to work to make sure my kids, is rare in a good environment. But you have these outsiders, you have these niggas and these devils coming into the community targeting these nice homes. My house is an average house, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you have these people, all they see is money, see opportunity. Now, in my house, I don't think they would target my house. My house would be the first choice, because I have security cameras all over my house. I have it in the front, the side, and the rear of my home. I have ADT signposts all over the place, you know what I'm saying? And also I have, surveillance inside of my house. So I don't think they want to target my house. I even have a no trespassing sign. So the average criminal, they see a sign, they see a house like this, they're not going to target that house. But if they should choose to cross over my threshold, the good thing about Maryland is that we have what is called a castle doctrine, right? Which basically means that once somebody breaks into your house, you don't have a duty to retreat. You don't have to retreat. You have, you say you can stand your ground and use deadly force to defeat the threat. So you know what I'm saying? Now, if you're out and about, let's say, for example, I have a concealed carry permit, right? If I'm out and about and let's say 3 guys decide to jump me and they beat my ass, I can't even take my firearm to defend myself. It has to be where, they pull out a firearm or a knife or something that can literally take my life or bodily, give me bodily harm before I can, you know, justify using my firearm. So it doesn't even make sense to even have a gun in Maryland because Maryland law is very strict on guns. They just recently they passed the law where you can obtain a concealed carry weapon without any reason for doing it. When I first got mine, I have my business. That's why they allowed me to get it because I transport valuables. I transport pharmaceuticals and so forth. So anyway, what I'm saying to y'all family, if you are in any position to get a long gun like a AK, all right, or AR or even a shotgun, because sooner or later they're gonna ban all these rifles. Sooner or later, that's the agenda for the Democrat. This is one of the reasons why the only thing that I actually rock with the as far as Republicans concerned is the Second Amendment. Anything else, I don't really deal with politics, but I believe that we have the right to be in arms to protect our family. When they made the Second Amendment, they made it strictly for white people because they knew that when slavery was ended, there was going to be retribution on their ass. A lot of slaves were going to take revenge. So that's why they came up with this Second Amendment, the right to be in arms. It wasn't to be in arms against each other. It was for them. It was to be in arms against us. You know what I'm saying? But now we as black people, now we're practicing the Second Amendment. Now they want to outlaw the shit. So I would say if you have any opportunity to get even a shotgun in your community, in your neighborhood, in your state, try to get it because I'm telling you, shit's about to hit the fan. They're trying to go after Trump to prosecute. To prosecute him, to lock him up. If that should happen, if Trump should ever get any kind of indictment, right, or any kind of jail time, there is going to be a civil war. And the first people they're going to target, family, the first people they're going to target is us, the so-called black people. Because everything that goes on, they always blame us for it and shit. Especially since you have these so-called African American prosecutors, these black people that's like black judges and prosecutors that's going after him. They're gonna try to take revenge and shit for Trump being. I have a feeling that he's at least one of these charges is gonna stick. I have a feeling one of these charges are gonna stick. But if that should happen, just know that it's going to be a civil war. And this is why we need to start planning ahead. Don't wait for the last minute. You know what I'm saying? If you have an opportunity to get your hand on a firearm, even if you was to go to the store, just get some kind of protection. There's a lot of non-lethal protection you can get. There's a lot of, weapons you can use to protect your home. But the thing is, you don't want to be like homeboy that almost got caught out there. You know what I'm saying? He said his wife and his kids, and, he almost got caught out there because he said he had a gun, and they said they had a gun too. You know what I mean? And usually now when they do home invasion, it's usually multiple assailants, not just one person, one or two people. It's usually 4 or 5 because they're trying to cover all bases. So again, family, I just wanted to share this with y'all. And before I go, right, when y'all are out and about, family, please, when y'all out and about, make sure your doors are locked. If you're at a stoplight, make sure your doors are locked. When y'all go to the gas station, right, do not have a pocketbook on the seat, any valuables on the seat. You know what I'm saying? What I would suggest y'all do when you're pumping your gas, go into your car and sit down and lock the door. Watch the pump from within your car because these people they're carjacking you. And a lot of times, you know what I'm saying, if you resist, they will shoot you. A lot of these are meth heads, these are drug addicts. It seems like ever since this so-called pandemic, right, people have been losing their minds. I believe that there's something in those jabs that they gave these people because a lot of people are literally just wilding out, becoming homicidal. So again, even when you pull up at your house, don't just get out of your car and go to your home. Just sit for a minute. Sit for like two minutes in your car and just look through your rear view mirror, your side view mirror. Observe you see any cars lurking with people in it. You know what I'm saying? Your neighborhood. Like I know my neighborhood. I drive through my neighborhood on a daily basis. I know all the cars that belong. If I see a strange car in my neighborhood, I'm on it. I'm looking to identify which card is which, who did they come to visit. That's the type of person that I am. Very, very observant. My wife said I'm paranoid. Yeah, I'm glad I'm paranoid. That's why I'm still alive. You know what I'm saying? When you pull up at the gas station, don't just get out your car right away. You sit in your car for a minute, make sure your doors are locked, and you absorb. Look to your side of your mirror, your rear view mirror, and just make sure there's nobody lurking, because it's a lot of things going on, man, and a lot of us are just so clueless. Everybody's in their cell phone, just looking down on their cell phone, not paying attention. You know what I mean? If you have youngins, teach them that when they coming from the, like when they get dropped off at the bus stop, the school bus drop them off, they're not supposed to be on their phone while walking, to their residence. They tell them not to have the phone in their hand. If you can give them, like, let's say, one of those pepper spray. Like my daughter, she was 13 years old. I bought a pepper spray for her. I taught her how to use it. You know what I'm saying? Not to spray it, where the wind is blowing, because it can affect you. We have to do a lot more better, family, in terms of trying to protect our family members. You know what I'm saying? Like with me, like I said, I have firearm stage all over my home. I teach my wife how to shoot. You know what I'm saying? My kids know that they're not supposed to touch what I do. I have like three or four, actually I got four now. I got four the biometric safe, gun safes, right? So I have them all over the house, accessible, hidden, but yet still accessible. All I have to do is put my fingerprint on it, and it opens up, and I have my firearm readily available. My wife is the only one that have access to it. So just me and my wife have access to it. So if you have firearm, you have to protect it as well, especially if you have kids around the house. You know what I mean? Family, we got to get out of this comfort zone. A lot of y'all just have this notion that, police is going to protect you, or Jesus Christ is going to save you. Jesus Christ ain't saved those people out there in Charleston, South Carolina, that lost their lives, right? When Dylan Roof murdered them and shit in the church. So you got to start protecting yourself. The Bible said God help those who help themselves. So it's time for us to wake up, out of la la land, like Deborah got like to say. A lot of us are living in la la land, believe everything is going to be all right. You know what I'm saying? It's time for us to realize that shit is about to get real. So I just wanted to share that with y'all. And in closing, one more time, family, if you have any money in the bank, take it out of the bank, because I believe there's something major that's going to happen. They're going to send some kind of signal throughout your cell phone. I think they said in October or November, some kind of emergency broadcast signal they're going to send to all the cell phone. Why are they doing that? It's because something is looming. Something major is about to happen. All right? So just wanted to share that with y'all. With that, I say shalom.